Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jules and I'm designing a theme park based on United States urban legends. And more specifically, I'm doing a series that focuses on the graphic design process for the park. In my last video, I went over some research that is basically the backbone and the basis of this entire series and process. And this will move into the next part, which is this video, which is going to be mood boards and brand identity, or more specifically, one mood board. I do have a brand identity for the park as a whole. Throughout the entire process, I'm only going to be working on one part of the park, which is the southwest area, and every single land needs to have its own brand identity for it to basically stand out from the rest of them. Some parts of the brand identity is definitely going to overlap with one another and the brand as a whole. So, with that being said, we're going to get into the process of the mood board, and I'll share what a brand identity is and how it basically all the portions are going to be fixed into this area of the park. So let's get to it. So for starters, a mood board is a visual tool that helps communicate concepts and ideas. It's a collection of images, materials, color palettes, text, and other elements put together to evoke a particular style or feeling. As I get this started, I just wanted to show you the template I'll be using. If you watched my other videos on mood boards, then you would recognize it. This template is just a way for me to stay within my means and not do too much. Spoilers, it gets too much. But as far as the process goes, I scroll through my Pinterest boards and then also use what Canva has and basically just kind of search until I find pictures and textures that fit the vibe and the vision that I have. And I also wanted to make this into a presentable piece of its own, so placement is definitely being considered, and you see that I play around with that a lot. So now that you have an idea of what a mood board is and what I'm going to be doing, let's get into what brand identity is. And according to the Branding Journal, brand identity is a vital aspect of a brand strategy. It refers to the unique characteristics that influence a brand's perceived personality, appearance, and behavior. A brand's identity encompasses intangible and intangible elements, including its history, name, personality, and visual identity. To understand brand identity, it helps to think about what comprises a person's identity. Individuals are a combination of elements such as their name, origins, personality, values, beliefs, story, and physique, and brand identity works similarly. So, brand identity isn't solely a logo, but rather how a brand is perceived by consumers. A strong brand identity is an essential step of a branding strategy. It makes a brand unique and clarifies how it should be, look, and act. Friends, I am coming to you from my hallway to basically take a moment in this video to thank my wonderful Patreon supporters for today's video and all basically past and future videos. With their help, I'm able to make content like this, as well as just do any kind of actual work on this project at all. If you would like to be part of said club, link to my Patreon will be in the description below. But wait, I'm sure you're asking, if I sign up to be a Patreon member, what do I even get? What are you offering? And I would say, sometimes it's the usual stuff, polling on future projects. You also get some behind the scenes stuff, and you also get, and this is my personal favorite, you get a postcard every month. And I make these postcards and I design these postcards, so you can get a monthly postcard. These are all my favorite, but basically I showcase a urban legend or cryptid every month, and they basically, you know, come like this. And they also are like this with a little description of the urban legend in the back. And then I leave it blank because you can either collect them or you can give them to somebody that you like to give them to. I personally like to collect them because I love them. And I love to send them out and have other people enjoy them. So, all that being said, if you want to become a member, it is $5 a month. But if you would like, there is also a free version when it comes to Patreon. And I also try to cater to that. And I put up posts every Thursday, which is Thought Thursday. And I try to basically talk about something that has to do with theme parks or cryptids or whatever. And I just kind of put my thoughts on it and then leave it up to you guys to answer or have a conversation within the comment section. It's up to you. And yeah, so all that being said, I hope to see you there. If not, that's okay. I'm just glad that you're watching right now. And yeah, let's get back into this video. Let's keep going with this mood board and keep going with this brand identity. So let's get back to it. Bye-bye. Thank you. So when talking about brand identity, there are definitely different topics that encompass the entire thing, and we'll go through each thing. So we're going to start with a brand story, and it's a narrative that defines a brand's origins, and it's a way to basically make a connection with customers and make the brand memorable. And when we talk about a brand story, that includes why, when, where, and how the brand started. And I'm going to focus solely on the one area, but this part of the brand identity would be for any of the lands and the park as a whole, because they are all trying to achieve the same thing. So why? It's to share culture and legends of the United States. When did this all start? This all started because of a college thesis. And where was it made? It was made basically right here in Boston, where I went to college. And how? This all started as a way of learning other people's spooky stories and what they grew up with when it came to their families or even their hometown urban legends. I always loved hearing people talk about their personal paranormal stories and wanted to expand on that and how it would feel to almost have a Disney-esque experience like the Haunted Mansion, but by sharing beloved urban legends within the United States that we might not even know about. And then we're going to get into a cultural and historic aspect of brand story, and this is actually very specific to this land, but you can actually check out my last video of this series all about this and all the research I used to answer this part of the branding story if you haven't already. So let's talk about brand name. A brand's name is often the first thing people see or hear, so it should be memorable. I don't want the lands to have any boring names and want their name to reflect the area as a whole, since we are grouping states together. I played around with aspects of the area like the climate, landmarks, language, what they are known for, and used that as a starting point. I also looked at other parks that had the same theme and see how they named their lands. And then a few names I was confident in, I took a poll on Instagram. And the name that was the winner was Phoenix Forge, and I will be using that name for the rest of this video as well as the series. Next is a brand personality. Providing a brand with specific character traits makes it almost more human. A clearly defined brand personality generates attachment among its audience, Consumers feel concerned by its behavior and values, just like they would with a person. So I think the park as a whole shows the value and importance of the cultural and geographical diversity that makes up the United States and puts an emphasis on sharing it through stories. And that's where a communication style and tone of voice can come in. And the way a brand can communicate is through their style and tone of voice. And that will define how it communicates with any forms of their audience or with different audiences. And this would include any type of vocabulary, the way that the brand expresses its messages, interacts with others, and the emotion it conveys. And so this is a very small project at the moment, but when it comes to thinking of it in terms of an actual park, and if this brand was fully realized, this brand uses speech that would convey whimsy, because we're talking about urban legends and spooky things, but it's also factual in where it got the stories, and when sharing the stories in history with a dose of curiosity in order to learn more and build off of those stories and why we have those stories. I want there to be a voice that conveys energy and eagerness to share stories and encourage diving into the unknown. This is a very human-driven park, so there should be, at the base of it all, depth of feeling. A theme park is always about telling a story, so the narrative is driven as a storyteller and also encourages the guests to be the protagonist in their own story within the park and where they sit in these urban legends. In terms of communication channels, the park should have a voice throughout the park to cover all said previously. I think this should also be conveyed on any social platforms. When it comes to tone of voice, there can be a divide into four main styles. There's funny or serious, formal or casual, respectful or irreverent, and enthusiastic or matter-of-fact. I want there to be a respect of the history and culture. There is an appreciation while also sharing it in a funny and entertaining way. Urban legends are mostly scary, but they also can be very entertaining. It is a theme park, so we want people to have fun. There should be an encouragement and enthusiasm that comes with the creepy and the thrilling side of this storytelling. Then we're gonna have the brand as a product or service. And a brand's product or service are part of its identity. This would represent the brand and embody the different parts of its identity. You all know it already. It's a theme park with themed areas. The product I would be selling here is what any theme park and amusement park can offer. You have the thrill with knowing you are safe. Kind of like a horror movie, but the thing that would be the selling point and make it different from any other theme park or amusement park is that the guests can experience the urban legends and enjoy the thrill of these stories, but understand that they are safe. It's just a ride. Visual identity is the brand's combination of graphic elements, and elements of visual identity include color palette, logo, typefaces and fonts, imagery and photography style, graphic design layouts, product and packaging design. All of these will actually be covered over the course of this series, and right now the mood board would cover the color palette and imagery. The other stuff we will cover in the future. And finally, this is the fun one, sensory identity. And sensory identity includes scent, touch, and sounds associated with a brand. And this part of a brand can be considered optional, but this is perfect for Urban Legends America. Disney actually uses this in their own parks. So for example, Main Street USA pumps out smells like cookies in order for guests to use all of their senses to be completely immersed in the area that they're in. In order to fulfill that for Urban Legends America, I want Phoenix Forge to have scents of the desert. Now, I know you don't really think that deserts have a smell, but generally they have an overall clean, earthy aroma punctuated by herbal and floral notes. You can even play with the seasons, since seasons play a significant role in how any landscape smells. During the spring, desert flowers produce a floral fragrance. I also see using smells and line cues for rides. Imagine you're in a line for a ride that takes place in a mine. During my search for what a mine would smell like, I found that it wasn't very pleasant. So, not to have guests be more miserable than they already are in line, the scents I would be more inclined to add would be more of that of dirt, lichen or moss, wet stone, wood, and clay. Added would be smells of gas of the equipment, but very minimal. We don't want guests fainting either. And with all that being said, here is the final mood board for Phoenix Forge. And now we'll get into my final thoughts. There's never really a lot of pressure to kind of know exactly what you're doing. You kind of just get a feel of what's going on. And I always just think it's fun because you find like beautiful pictures and a lot of textured things. And usually when it comes to mood boards, for the longest time they were made physically like collages. But now there's a way that we've been doing things digitally. It's became very mainstream to like mood board your year or your goals, so you can visually see what the next steps are for you. So they've always been like a tool, but I've always enjoyed them, and I always think that they come out really pretty when you have everything put together the way that you like. And I really like the way this came out. At the end, it was a lot of moving things. So I think it's really easy to find the things that I like. It's more so the placement that always gets me, because I want things to be clear, and sometimes it comes out too cluttered. I might get rid of some things just to make sure that there is a little more breathing room. But overall, I think that this is a really good way of conveying my vision of Phoenix Forge and kind of where to go next. And hopefully, all is well. When it comes to the brand identity and like that process, it can be a little boring and a little taxing just because it's a lot of questions to just answer. It's a lot of logistics. That's why it's kind of fun to get into the actual like packaging and things that are a little more artsy, and things that aren't really artsy but can be conveyed is like the sensory branding that is really fun to do and think of when it comes to just like making an immersive piece that is technically the theme park that is the brand. Next video, we're going to be getting into a little more artsy than this. It's still artsy, but there's more. But we're actually probably going to get into more like physical drawing and actually like making something, because we're actually going to be starting signage, and that's basically all signs in the park, whether that be any like title signs for attractions, very logistical things like navigation, along with anything else, any good signage goodies that you would actually see in an amusement park or a theme park. Thank you for watching. If you like today's video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this series and other things that I do on this project. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.